everybody. Today I want to warn you guys of the dangers of the drug cartels that are growing here in the Los Angeles area. If any of you have seen the movie End of Watch, you guys might have a clue of what happens during these drug cartels. And if you guys haven't seen the movie, then I'll kind of briefly discuss about what goes on with all the connections in the drug cartels. Today I will discuss some of the cities in Mexico that the Los Angeles has connected with, and I'm also going to provide some information on how LA has been affected. For my first main point, I'm going to discuss to you guys the areas that connect with Los Angeles drug cartels. And some of the areas are, well, the closer areas that we may know are Tijuana, Sinaloa, Durango, and Guatemala. Those are the main drug cartels. Okay, and these are some of the more areas that are in Mexico. Well, the bigger ones, this is the biggest one right here, Durango. These are the names of the cartels. And as you guys can see, Veracruz, Mexico, all these cities, all these areas right here have connection with Los Angeles. As the LA Times states, Mexico is the main source of methamphetamine in the United States. The drug has also become a source in Mexico's northern border cities like Tijuana, San Diego, and Ciudad Juarez, which are the cities I just mentioned. To give you guys an idea of how these drugs are smuggled, or one of the ways is through tunnels. According to an article called Sinaloa Cartel Leader Tied to Drug Tunnels, claims that these tunnels can be about 2,200 feet deep. And some of the drugs, they carry chemicals to make drugs such as ecstasy. They also carry weed, and they can also make methamphetamine. And right here, these are some of the tunnels that they came across. Tunnels can start as a home, a living room. They can go about 2,200 feet deep. They're obviously underground. They connect from Mexico all the way to the border, or close to the border. Moving on to my second point, I would like to discuss how this has affected Los Angeles and what occurs within these cartels. Los Angeles Times has also explained that most of these drugs are chemicals that can produce, as I just said, methamphetamine. Within these drugs, a lot of violence has occurred. Murders have risen, violence has risen, and over these past few years, and it's sad to see one of our main counties be affected by it, because we have a really big connection with a lot of the areas in Mexico, and it has caused all the violence here in Los Angeles, one of the main violences. Violence has reached a fever pitch in parts of Mexico where the government of President Felipe Calderon has sent in 45,000 soldiers and 5,000 federal police to try to curb cartel activity. More than 7,000 have died in the last 2 years, with 1,000 deaths only in January. This I got from the article How the Cartels Work. This is a picture showing some of the victims that they caught under the tunnels, trying to pass through, smuggling some drugs. And this is one of the connections linked to the Gulf Cartel, which I pointed out in the map earlier. It has a connection here with the Los Angeles area. Okay, and today I've informed you guys a little bit about which areas are being affected by the drug cartels, and have also discussed with you guys how Los Angeles has been affected. As you guys may know by now, this isn't a problem that can be solved by tomorrow, or soon, or maybe even ever. But I really hope you guys are at least warned and know some of the risk of getting involved in any drug-related gangs or even cartels here in LA. No, they just have them. Yeah, actually, those are the ones. The last one, yeah, they're all dead. They were all shot down.
This is the way they were positioned.
Yeah, they were all shot. They walk the Yeah, I think the ones at the end, well, the ones at the end, there was like 2 or 3 that were still live, but the others were just shot. Yeah.
I was going to say coming into the tunnel. No, that was Stephanie.
It's not us.
Did it? It was I knew it. I knew there was something fishy about it.
So, Junior, what did you think?
I'm just kidding.
Sure.
I actually like the topic that she was talking about. I didn't catch no attention grabber though. Her citations were all right. They were pretty clear on what she was talking about. I kind of noticed that actually Guatemala is not part of the city of Mexico. So that's part of Central America. But other than that, it was all right. I liked the speech and everything.
Okay. Yeah, Junior's right. There's not really an attention device. You just start with the greeting and the topic. I think you ought to start with the movie reference. You know, don't tell us the whole story of the movie, but you might say, you know, if you've seen the recent movie, what's the name of the movie?
End of Watch.
End of Watch.
Yeah, End of Watch. You know, it concerns the infiltration of Mexican drug cartels into the Los Angeles area, and it gives a pretty dramatic and frightening image of what those cartels might be engaged in. Today, I want to talk to you about, you know, that sort of thing. So use the story there as your attention device, and then go into the story. I think that would work a little bit better. The topic is, like I said, clearly identified. You have a pretty good statement of your goal. There's a preview. You basically have a visual preview that you're using on one of the slides, and that's okay, but it feels like it's only part of what you're going to be talking about. And then later on in the speech, I'm not sure that you really stick to the organizational pattern that you set up at the beginning of the speech, and that gets to be problematic because it feels like information is randomly coming up instead of being focused at a particular point in the presentation. Excuse me. I did notice that you were trying to do a very thorough job about citing the evidence and the information in your speech. The citations are I appreciated them. Generally, you don't want to cite the title of the articles because that gets a little complicated. You could simply say, you know, an article that appeared in the LA Times in May, or, you know, the Newsweek article reported this, or something along those lines. That would be a little bit shorter instead of saying, you know, in an article, you know, how drug dealers are doing it. You know, it doesn't hurt, but I think it's a little bit less smooth that way. And I'll give the date citations too. I think you did that for most of them. The visuals are fine. They're integrated into the speech pretty well. They don't add a whole bunch, but they do help structure some of the things that you're talking about and focus our attention a little bit. I think you do want to be careful because I don't think that the tunnels go 2,000 feet deep. They're 2,000 feet long. You know, 2,000 feet deep is going a half mile down into the ground, and that's not going to happen. You know? Yeah, 2,000 feet long, that's how far they're traveling, let's say, from one neighborhood in Mexico across the border. That's almost a half mile. That makes sense. So, I mean, you referred to it at one point as them being deep, and that makes it sound like, you know, I'm getting in an elevator going down a half a mile to a tunnel.
They actually did have an elevator.
Well, I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm telling you, a half mile deep is a long way, and whatever, you know, I doubt very much that any of those tunnels are a half mile deep. Easily, you know, 2,000, 2,400 feet long, that happens. But, double check your data, you know. If I'm wrong, I'm the first to admit it. I've been wrong plenty of times.
I'll look it up.
Today. All right. Thank you.
Oh, John. However, we like the
Giovanni is going to be next.
accent when you were saying.
And let me see, where is Giovanni? Here he is. Sari is supposed to do the written evaluation, and Kevin Lopez is supposed to do the oral evaluation.
Okay.
Get there for homework. Otherwise, good enough.